All right, we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to thank everybody for joining us online with this Zoom meeting today. It's 80 degrees out, so it's great softball weather. So what a better night, beautiful night to talk some softball. I'm Jason Esslinger. I'm the softball administrator for the Girls Athletic Union. I'm very fortunate to have Kathy Creighton. She's our umpire coordinator, our rules person. We're very fortunate that she's on the national committee at the NFHS for softball rules. And she's here along with her umpiring crew, her advisors, and that's Craig Snyder, Jim Doyle, Tom Sullivan, Tom Berger. Pat Pace will be here shortly. He's not here quite yet, but just to kind of give you an idea how this evening will go, we'll go through a lot of things today, and we're going to be doing all the presenting. There will be, if you know, on your Zoom, there is a Q&A for any of you here that want to ask any questions. Go ahead and type those out. We'll have breaks in between where Craig will answer those questions and have some discussion about that. Just to let you know, also we are recording this, so we will put this on our website probably first of next week. So if you have any colleagues that weren't able to make it, if you go onto the IGHSAU website in the officials area under softball, we'll have a link to the video. They'll be able to watch that and get credit for that. Also, as far as obtaining credit, at the end of this, at the end of the meeting, there'll be a QR code. So hopefully you have your phone with you that you can scan. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you directly into a Google file where you can fill out your name, address, email address, and you'll just very easy to do it and submit that to get credit for being here today. So that being said, I'll go ahead and turn everything over to Kathy. Again, thanks for joining us today.
Hello, umpires. My name is Catherine Creighton. I'm the Girls Athletic Union softball umpire coordinator. With me today are my 5 advisors. Want to welcome you to the clinic. There was a few pictures there of some of the action shots that I have of last year's action of umpires. If you have photos that you want to send to me, I think they're great. We can use them in these presentations, and we can put them in our newsletters. For today, our clinic agenda, we have several things that we'd like to cover today. We're going to go over how to read the rule book and the casebook, the importance of pitching legally. We have some pitching videos that we're going to go over that show some legal and illegal pitching techniques. We're going to talk about proper IGHSAU uniform and equipment for umpires. We're going to have interference and obstruction rules and examples. We'll go over 5 usual, unusual game occurrences. We'll talk about controlling the game when the emotions are high, what's required on a lineup card, and that could be used for coaches and for umpires. We'll talk about conferences, defensive and offensive rules, and keeping track of those conferences. We're going to talk a little bit about the double first base. And then last, we're going to talk about how we select umpires for postseason. And after each section, we're going to have a question and answer session that Craig's going to help us if you have questions. So type them where Jason told you to type. Our first section, I'm going to present. We're going to go over a little bit on how to read the rule book and the case book. I just put a picture here of the softball rules book. I know I kind of like the app that I have on my phone, but there are hard copies that were sent to everybody. The NFHS sets most of their rules up the same way. In the softball rules book, we have 10 softball rules, and then it has a place in there for state adaptations, what we can and can't do with state adaptations. It goes over points of emphasis, comments, improper conduct chart, official signals, and at the very end has appendices and an index. Rule book for most, if not all, NFHS books are numbered using a rule, a section, and an article. Rule books are numbered using dashes, such as Rule 2-4, 2-1-4A, which means Rule 2, Section 1, Article 4A. Rules other than number 1 or number 2 rules have penalties, effects, notes, and exceptions. The casebook uses practical examples to illustrate whether a ruling is correct or not correct. And these are numbered using dots. So it would be a 4.3-2. The casebook references players in their descriptions of their examples in there. The defense is numbered by position. And if all of us are baseball, softball players, then we know that the pitcher is F1, the shortstop is F6, center fielder is F8. This is illustrated in this figure that I copied here onto our PowerPoint, is figure 3.1 in the rule book. Rule number 1 covers field and equipment. This rule is for the schools, the administrators, and as well as umpires. We use this when the schools are building or marking a field or purchasing equipment, and for umpires, how to rule on legal equipment. It covers bats, gloves, balls, helmets, and any other kind of equipment you might be thinking of. Rule 2 definitions. When I first started doing all the different sports that I used to do, I found out that definitions was the most important rule. If you know the definition of, let's say, a check swing or a bunt or a slap or a base path versus a base line, if you know these definitions, this helps to understand the other rules. So this rule is for coaches and for umpires. The definitions are the foundation of all the rule books in NFHS. For example, Rule 2-51-1 describes a slap hit. A slap hit is a batted ball, and it's often incorrectly called a slap bunt, that has been struck with a short chopping motion rather than a full swing. The two most common types of slap hits are those in which the batter takes a stance as if to bunt, but then either drives the ball into the ground with a quick short swing or punches it over the infield. Or those in which the batter takes running steps towards the pitcher before making contact with the pitch. These are perfect examples of what a slap hit is. If you can remember these, then you'll be able to describe this when you're administrating your rules to the coaches. Rule 3 describes players, substitutes, and coaches. It describes the DP and the flex and how to list it on the lineup card. It tells the uniform requirements of each player, and it tells about uniform requirements for coaches too. Did you know in Rule 3 there is a rule requiring players to wear shoes? I mean, we think that's pretty normal, but yep, there is a rule. They have to wear shoes. This rule number 3 tells us how to substitute, who can report the sub, how to substitute for the DP and the flex. Concussion rules are here in Rule 3, and illegal substitutes and penalties are in Rule 3. Coaches' duties are described here. Bench and field conduct is in Rule 3. Did you know that a fake tag is in this rule? Did you know that fighting is specifically described here? Conferences are described in Rule 3, and the penalties for too many conferences are also in Rule 3. Rule 4 is starting and ending the game. This rule tells the umpires exactly what to include in their pregame. It gives guidelines for coaches and administrators for ground rules. It tells us how to end the game. You'd think that after 7 innings, we're done, but sometimes it always doesn't end at 7 innings. So it tells us how to end the game. Rule 4 describes what to do when a game is called for darkness. And I have to
No, but
mute Tom Sullivan. Mute your. Sullivan, mute your
Okay.
computer. Perfect. Rule 4 tells us how to forfeit a game. And what's a forfeited game? Do you know that a forfeited game score is officially recorded as 7-0? Protested games are also here, but the IGHSAU does not recognize protests, and that is in our Iowa adaptations. Rule 5 gives all examples of dead ball and delayed dead ball. It even puts it in a table for us. It's really pretty easy to look up in the table. It tells us how to call time. What is the suspension of play? When an umpire should suspend play. Did you know that an umpire can suspend play immediately for participant safety? This includes players, coaches, bench personnel, and umpire partners. Rule 6 is another very important rule for fast pitch softball. This is our game, fast pitch softball. This includes rules for slow pitch, but we won't discuss here. Rule 6 shows charts to determine legal and illegal footwork of the pitchers, both starting and ending. What a pitcher can do prior to the pitch, when the pitch starts, how to step back, when they can step back, what kind of windup can be used. Rule 6 has pitchers infractions, commonly called illegal pitches. It tells an umpire and a coach when to call the illegal pitch. It gives a penalty for an illegal pitch after each section. It tells us when to declare a no pitch. Did you know the umpire declares a no pitch when the pitcher pitches before a runner retouches a base after a foul ball? This describes warm-up pitches, when they're required or when they can do them, and how many are allowed. This pitching rule covers catcher's infractions, ball rotations. Did you know at the start of each half inning, the pitcher shall have her choice of softball to use, with the exception of the first inning? Rule number 7 for batting. It describes all the batting positions. Oops, I got a typo there. Look, this describes strikes, balls, and hits. That's supposed to be strikes. It describes batting infractions. Did you know that after the pitcher receives the ball back from the catcher, that a batter has 10 seconds to have both feet completely inside the batter's box? Rule 7 describes instances when the batter is out. Did you know this is where the drop third strike rule says that the batter may run to first base with no runner on first base, or 2 outs with 1 base occupied? Rule 7 describes the on-deck batter, where she can stand, what she can have in her hands, what she can't have in her hands. Did you know that the on-deck batter can leave the on-deck circle to direct a runner sliding into home? It also describes the penalties if that on-deck batter interferes with play. Rule 8 covers the batter, runner, and the runner. It describes when the batter becomes the batter runner. It tells us that the catchers or fielders cannot step on or in the batter runner's base path without the ball. We'll cover that a little bit later. Did you know the ball is dead and a batter is awarded first base when a pitched ball, not swung at, nor called a strike, that is entirely in the batter's box, strikes the batter or her clothing? There is no attempt to avoid being hit by the ball, but the batter may not make an obvious attempt to get hit by the pitch. Rule 8 describes all the reasons why the batter runner is out. For example, a fly ball is caught, or she is legally put out before reaching first base, or she steps back towards home to avoid a tag by a fielder. There are many examples in here. This is a kind of a long rule. Did you know a trapped ball is not considered an intentionally dropped fly ball? Now, if you look at trapped ball and intentionally dropped fly ball, if you want more explanation of this, then you go back to Rule 2 and you look in your definitions. Rule 8 describes, gotta go back one. Rule 8 describes interference, an infield fly, an intentionally dropped ball, and many other examples. Thank you, Jason. Rule 8 describes the runners touching bases in the legal order. When a runner passes a base, she is considered to have touched that base. It includes awarded bases. Rule 8 describes how and when to run the bases in reverse order, or two runners occupying the same base simultaneously. Did you know no runner may return to touch a missed base or one left too soon after a following runner has scored, or once the runner leaves the field of play? Rule 8 describes when the runners are entitled to advance. For example, on a steal, when the pitch leaves the pitcher's hands on the delivery, that's when she can leave. That's our leaving early. Did you know the runner can advance when the thrown ball hits an umpire? This is a pretty complicated rule. Many situations here have exceptions and penalties. It describes when the runner must return to the last base. Examples are an illegally batted ball declared by the umpire, or an intentionally dropped ball is ruled. It tells us when the runner is out. Examples would be the runner physically passing a preceding runner before that runner is put out. Did you know the runner is out if she intentionally contacts a fair ball that the fielder has missed? Now, there's a little more to that rule, and you have to read it. Rule 8 has the look back rule. It describes when the runner is not out. Examples would be the runner is out when she is hit with a fair batted ball, after it is touched by any fielder, and the runner could not avoid contact. Oops, I should say not out. Another typo. Did you know the runner is not out when she has started her advance to the next base when the pitcher receives the ball in the circle? And this is umpire judgment. Rule 8 covers courtesy runners. Courtesy runners can be used for the pitcher or catcher at any time, and the pitcher and catcher that have not been considered left the game for substitution purposes. Players who are currently in the game or have participated in the game are not eligible courtesy runners. Did you know the courtesy runner is not permitted to run for the DP? See, this is a long rule. Rule 8 covers the double first base. Iowa Girls High School uses a double first base. The defense must use the white portion, and the batter runner use the colored portion when a play is being made on the batter runner. The offense and the defense may use either the white or the colored portion when a force out is from the foul side of first base. An errant throw pulling the defense off the base into foul ground. Did you know the offense or defense may use the white or colored base when the batter is awarded a walk? Rule 9 for scoring and record keeping. This rule is for schools, administrators, and sometimes umpires. It describes how a team scores. It describes the recording of the game activity, batting records, base running records, fielding records, pitchers records. And typically, these aren't kept by umpires, but it's a rule. So you do need to know if someone asks. Rule 10 describes umpires and their duties. When our jurisdiction starts, it goes over specific duties of a plate umpire. Did you know that the plate umpire is required to keep a record of offensive and defensive conferences? It goes over specific duties of the base umpire. Did you know when there is only one base umpire, that umpire shall make all the calls at first and second unless the play takes the field umpire beyond the field? In other words, if they chase a fly ball. Rule 10 describes umpire equipment and apparel. Did you know that an umpire throat protector is required equipment by rule? That may be a throat protector that's attached to the mask or part of the mask. Did you know only plate umpires are to wear ball bags? Proper uniforms for IGHSAU are heather gray pants, powder blue shirt, navy jacket, cap, and ball bag. The ball bag is for the plate umpire only. The remainder of the rule book states what states can use as adaptations, as goes over points of emphasis, comments, editorial changes, improper conduct penalty chart, which is very useful for umpires. It has a signal chart, how to signal an out or a safe or a delayed dead ball. It goes over the NFHS mission. It has concussion protocol in there, other equipment guidelines. Some of the things that umpires don't have anything to do with, but this helps the administrators and the coaches. It goes over hygiene, communicable diseases. Very important for umpires to know the thunder and lightning guidelines. We follow those strictly here in Iowa. Did you know when thunder is heard, the game shall be suspended for at least 30 minutes? It has a coaches and officials code of ethics. It goes over DP Flex Simplified. This is a great resource for umpires. And last but not least, there's an index where we can look up parts of a rule and go specifically to a page to figure out what we're supposed to do in a particular situation. You know, that was kind of long and involved, but I think it was necessary to go over different sections of the rule book. So if you had a question about an illegal pitch or a batter when they were touching the base in a particular order, that you know where to go for looking up that rule in the rule book. Do we have any questions that Craig needs to answer?
No, I don't think we have any questions. You just have to remember that the rule book and case book that you have are 2022. And so the rule changes for 2023, you're going to have to make sure that you get those and understand what those are. Make sure you do that before you take the test.
Good point. Thank you, Craig. Our next section is the importance of legal pitching. I found a picture here, and you can find pictures, either videos or pictures all over the internet. And our rule set is different than other types of softball. The way we pitch in high school is a little bit different. Whether it's good or bad, doesn't make any difference what we think. We need to call what's in the high school rule book. This pitcher is dragging her pivot foot and is legal in that aspect of her pitch. Because this is a still photograph, this is the only thing we can judge on right here. Coaches, umpires, and pitching coaches, parents, all of you have responsibilities to teach our student athletes the correct rules of pitching. IGHSAU softball is education-based activities. The rules are written by the Federation. They are adopted by IGHSAU, and we are expected to be followed by student athletes. If pitchers do not pitch per the rules, umpires must call the illegal pitch and penalize appropriately. Once our student athletes are teenagers, coaches should teach them the proper way to pitch. Again, this is a still photograph, but it is clear here in this aspect of this pitcher that both feet are off the ground, and this would be an illegal pitch. Coaches, it's up to you to teach illegal pitching. Don't place the burden of calling the illegal pitch on the umpire, quote, because I'm going to do it until the umpire calls it. That's not real fair, you know, and it doesn't teach our kids the right things. And umpires, the rules are clear. We have plenty of training in the illegal legal pitch realm. Call the pitch when it starts to become illegal. My staff and I will help you with your questions. The legal pitches, our focus this year as umpires will be sure the pitcher steps onto the pitching plate with her hands apart. Keep her hands apart, takes or simulates taking a signal from the catcher before placing her hands together. The following videos after this section will help show the illegal and legal pitching moves. Do we have a questions? Any questions for this one, Jason?
No, I think we're good.
I think we're good.
Okay. Okay, next we have some pitching videos. I share a lot of my duties with my staff. They're a great resource for IGHSAU softball. Pat and Tom took some videos and asked some players to do some illegal and legal pitching moves so we could demonstrate them for you here. Note that these pitches are legal during the games. We asked them to demonstrate the illegal pitching techniques for training purposes. So I'm going to turn this over to Tom Berger and Pat Pasha.
Well, I don't think Pat's on here yet, so.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
Oh,
in.
sorry. Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, Jason, if you want to just start the videos and then I can comment after we play them.
Okay, this pitcher is throwing a legal pitch. Her feet are both on the pitcher's plate. So that is legal. Hands are apart. Okay.
So we threw that first one on a few years ago when they changed the rule that the pitcher could actually step backwards or start backwards. And they can't actually start with both feet on the pitching plate like they did before that rule changed. So that's what that one was about.
The pitcher will start back in a legal pitching position and deliver the pitch.
Same thing, still legal. She's just starting off the pitching plate. She doesn't obviously have to start on.
This pitcher is going to step onto the pitcher's plate legally, put her hands together, and then adjust her ponytail after her hands have come together. That is an illegal pitch. This pitcher.
So we see that one.
This pitcher.
We see that one. Either, yeah, they adjust their ponytail or adjust their mask or swatted a fly or something. So they have to, I think we'll have an actual video where they actually have to take themselves out of the pitching position to make that not an illegal pitch.
The pitcher will now step back and throw the pitch.
So once again, that was new about 3 years ago, so they can actually step back and pitch now. So that was again a legal pitch.
This pitcher will demonstrate a legal pitch by having the ball in her glove. Her hands are apart when she steps on, and she's going to deliver a legal pitch. This pitcher
Sometimes-
will demonstrate,
Sometimes the pitcher will have the ball in her hand. But some pitchers are taught to hide the ball. And they can start on, or they can step on with the ball in the glove only. Again, once the hands just have to be separated when they step on.
the pitcher is going to step onto the pitcher's plate, put her hands together, and then she decides she needs to adjust her ponytail. She will step off legally and adjust her ponytail. That is legal.
So she just removed herself from the pitching position instead of taking the hand out of the glove after they were together.
This pitcher is going to, once she strides, step out of the chute with her left foot, therefore resulting in an illegal pitch. There are no lines on the field, so this is umpire judgment.
These are all pretty much umpire judgment, so I'm not sure why I said that, but pretty tough call without any lines, but it's something we need to be aware of still.
The pitcher is going to demonstrate an illegal pitch. She steps on legally, puts her hands together, and then decides to adjust her ponytail, therefore taking the hand out of her glove. That is an illegal pitch.
Same video as before.
Did we put that in there twice?
Yeah,
Oops.
that's all right.
The coach is going to yell the pitch number again. The pitcher is going to step on to the pitcher's plate with her hands together. This is an illegal pitch because the pitcher steps on with her hands together.
421.
Pitcher steps on, her hands are together. That is an illegal pitch.
Very common mistake when I'm out observing or watching games online. Pitchers are now getting their signal off of the pitching plate and they step on and hands are together and they're ready to go. They do not simulate or simulate taking a sign or take a sign at all from the catcher. So we that's a very, very common pitching violation.
That's the violation that we want the umpires to concentrate on this year. Make sure they step on with their hands apart and take the signal. If we can't do all of the aspects of illegal pitching, let's do at least that one. Make sure they step on, hands apart, take or simulate taking the signal from the catcher.
The pitcher is now going to demonstrate an illegal pitch by stepping onto the pitcher's plate with her hands together. Therefore, we have an illegal pitch.
Basically the same thing, except for she didn't roll into the pitch, which what she did here was still illegal, even though she paused and waited to get into her pitching motion. It's still illegal because she stepped on with her hands together.
Pitcher is going to get her signal off of the pitching rubber from the catcher, step on, immediately put her hands together and throw. This is an illegal pitch because the pitcher did not take a sign or simulate taking a sign. The umpire just called an illegal pitch. The coach is going to come out and talk to the umpire and explain what the pitcher did illegal.
Blue, what's she doing wrong?
Coach, she stepped onto the pitcher's plate and immediately put her hands together without pausing to simulate taking a sign or taking a sign. Therefore, we have an illegal pitch.
Okay, thank you.
Pitcher,
Pretty simple, just to tell them what they did. And it'd be nice if all coaches were that nice, but just give them rule book verbiage and tell them what they did.
The pitcher is in legal pitching position. When she strides forward, she is going to step with her right foot or her pivot foot, therefore increasing her distance to home plate. This is an illegal pitch.
We don't see that a lot, but I should have actually said she decreased her distance to home plate, but that's something we don't see a lot, but that was a pretty good example of it.
And that's the base umpire that needs to be aware of that one.
Pitcher gets a signal from the catcher, steps on, puts her hands together. That is an illegal pitch.
That's a huge advantage for a pitcher to do
Pitcher
that. Too. So that is another, obviously a very, very common one that we see. And again, Pat, like you said, base umpire in the last one, that's got to be the plate umpire's call. But if I'm the base umpire and my plate's not getting it, I'm definitely going to go in and talk to him between half innings and at least get that on their radar so we can get it corrected.
In this situation, the coach is going to yell a number for the pitch call. The pitcher is going to look at her wristband off the rubber, which is legal, and then pitch the ball. This will be a legal pitch.
424.
Looks at her wristband, steps on, hands are apart, and pitches. This is a legal pitch.
All right, those are the I think the same videos we've been showing for the last 3 years. So nothing's changed, and the coaches are now seeing these, and we're getting a lot of compliments on those now going to coaches, and they are getting educated. So hopefully this is something we can take care of this year for sure.
So a big thing this year is that the coaches have to watch a coach's rules meeting, and these videos are on that meeting. So they have no excuse that they haven't seen this before. Somebody asked a question about, so do you give a warning? Well, they ought to know what the rules are and how to pitch. Not an umpire's job to teach them how to pitch. Early in the season, I suppose if you think in the first game or so that you can correct something with a short, send the catcher out to tell them to do something or whatever. You can certainly try that to prevent, but don't just let them keep doing it. And they just well learn right from the get-go as to let it go until they get the regional tournament, because that's what we hear all the time, that nobody's called it all year. Well, there's no excuse for not calling it, because the coaches should know what the rules are, because they have to watch that meeting in order to coach in the postseason. So hopefully we can enforce it, and the coaches will be more aware of how to teach their kids how to pitch legally.
My experience, when they say it hasn't been called all year, it's about 2% accurate. So don't fall for that one. Go ahead and call it.
And it's only a ball, guys. We're not advancing runners anymore. It's a very minor penalty.
So I have a question about, so the base or plate umpire can call an illegal pitch, correct? That would be correct, but I think you have to remember what people are looking at. Pretty hard for the base umpire to call a pitcher out of the chute. And pretty hard for a plate umpire to call a pitcher for leaping. So you have to use a little common sense, and it depends if you're at first base or if you had to move and you're between second and third. Takes away a lot of things. If you have to watch base runners, then basically it becomes pretty hard.
That's all the questions?
Yes.
Good. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Tom and Pat. Our next section, we'll go over proper IGHSAU uniforms and equipments for umpires. Jim, are you on with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
All right, so the umpire uniform rule. Uniform requirements are covered in Rule 10.4. Umpires must wear a throat protector as part of or attached to the mask. A chest protector is recommended. Casts, splints, and braces may be worn if padded. Besides the required equipment and uniform, the appearance of officials is most important for both the respective players, coaches, and spectators, as well as for comfort and safety. It is imperative that all umpires wear identical color combinations. A powder blue polo shirt and gray slacks are required for varsity contests. A white polo shirt, including those with the blue or red side panels, and gray slacks may be worn for sub-varsity games. Navy blue shirts may be worn for regular season only if both umpires agree. Black shoes, black belt with a simple buckle, and black socks are also required. Gray slacks and a powder blue polo shirt with the IGHSAU logo are required to be worn in the regional and state tournament. State tournament umpires may wear a pink shirt with the IGHSAU logo. The hat with the IGHSAU logo is required. Crews must match uniforms. Do not wear dark or charcoal gray pants, black ball bags, and limit your jewelry. Pleated pants are acceptable. Jackets are acceptable. And there's no reason to wear ball bags on the bases. Leave your phone and wallet in your car. Equipment for the plate umpire should offer the best in protection, mobility, and comfort. The IGHSAU coordinator staff recommends the plate umpire have a mask, chest protector, leg guards for protection, and 2 Navy ball bags. It is also highly recommended to wear clean, polished steel-toed shoes. The plate and base umpires should use a ball strike indicator and a brush. Be proud of your clean, crisp uniform and equipment. Any questions?
No, we're good. Good job.
Our next section
Okay.
is interference and obstruction. We're gonna go over some rules and examples here, and Pat's gonna talk about this one.
Okay, so just doesn't always deal with ball strikes, safes and outs. Every now and then we have some interference calls, have some obstruction calls. So going to show you a few videos here and just briefly go over a few things. So first off, we're going to start with interference. By rule, interference is an act, physical or verbal, by a member of the team at bat who illegally impedes, hinders, or confuses any fielder, or when a runner creates malicious contact with any fielder, with or without the ball, in or out of the baseline. There's more to this rule than just running into a fielder, obviously, as you read the rule above. And interference is always a violation by the offense. Okay, so here's our first video. You can go ahead whenever, Jason, and go ahead and start it. This is in like a semifinal game. We have bases loaded, 1 out. This is a semifinal of a state tournament somewhere. So we have bases loaded, 1 out. Batter stepping up. We got a pop fly. First baseman's calling for it. Goes in. Ball drops. Infield fly was called on this. So the rest of this video you're seeing is kind of, now this team thinks they've won the game. Watch again. Okay, she releases the ball, it's popped up in the air. They're calling infield fly. Did you see the home plate umpire? He's got his hand up in the air. The fielder goes to try to catch the ball, but the runner, for some reason, runs inside and interferes with her. So we're going to have interference on that, and we're going to have an out. But it was an infield fly. So we have more things coming up. So how's that going to be called? Here's another video of it. Pop fly, she's calling for it. Ball drops, throws home. Might have had obstruction there on the catcher, but the ball gets away. Oh, there we go. Here's our first base umpire. Did you see that? Our first base umpire had it the entire time. He throws his hands up. He's got dead ball. So what we have there, and this is a good one in all, I've not ever had this one happen to me. So what you've got here is you've got interference by the batter runner, who is a retired runner. Okay, has everybody got that? She's a retired runner. She continues to run to first base and impedes the fielder trying to catch the ball. So what we have here, she's already out. Would everybody agree with that? So we can't call her out again. So in this situation, we call if a retired runner interferes, then we call the closest runner to home plate out. Bases were loaded. So that girl that came in and thought she scored, thought she won the game, she didn't. Game's going on into the top of the 8th inning. Because what you have here, if you notice at the bottom of the video, it says 6:55. This was almost a 7-minute delay in this game. The umpires got together. The UIC of this state had come out on the field, but they eventually got it right. I think the home plate umpire, I don't think he was real sure what happened. I think the first base umpire had it the entire time. He came in with his arms up once they played it all the way through. So that's a very good one. Hopefully that's educated. Hopefully that never happens to any of you in a game of that magnitude. But if it does, you're going to know what to call. I guarantee you this coach here for the team in black, he's in their ear pretty hard, but he eventually calms down and they explain it to him and they had the call right. So that's all I've got on that one. I think we can go to the next one. Well, yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay, this next one is going to be interference. Call is where the runner did not contact any fielder. Was it hindering? Was it confusing? This is completely in the umpire's judgment. Now in this video, thanks, Jason.
Season coming
We've
into
got a runner on second.
starting to heat up.
We got a ground ball to shortstop. Now watch.
Davis had the runner.
Okay, that wasn't a real good angle.
Wonder if it distracted her just a bit, and we're going to be
So,
tied at
we don't-
one.
You know, that wasn't a good angle, but you're going to see better angles coming up here. Now the umpires called nothing on
Takes a
that.
1-0 lead, but leaves
Nothing.
the base loaded
Home
right
plate
away.
didn't call
in error.
anything.
Now Syracuse.
Watch the guy at second. Did he do anything? Nope, he does nothing.
How
Girl
close
keeps on. Now watch the third base umpire.
Davis to the base runner.
Yeah, so to me,
Hey, watch the third base umpire. Do you see his safe signal?
Interference by
That's
the runner.
important to
Because
me.
Davis has the right
in
to go
his
get the ball,
judgment,
and it is the responsibility
had
of the runner to
nothing.
go around
He
her.
called it,
To
said
me,
she
that
was
was
safe,
that was
no
close.
big deal. Okay,
It stands.
However,
single
now
for
the
Tehran,
coach
who
comes out
stands
and
at
gets the
first base
umpires
while this
together.
conversation between Cameron Ellison, Ted
Now,
Broyles, and
they're
Matthew
going to
Dye
discuss it.
one
And
away.
eventually, what they're going to call is they're going to call interference and call the runner out. Okay, we're going to put the batter runner on first base, but she's going to be called out. Now, Is that something that can be done? There's 3 umpires in this system. And one umpire had a safe call. He obviously wasn't the one that called her out, but the other 2 did. They evidently thought that she did interfere. Now that doesn't look good to the when a coach comes out and argues that, and then you guys change it. I would, if I was the coach of the offensive team, I would come out then and say, now, wait a minute. Everyone saw the third base umpire give a safe call. Maybe not everyone, but some of us did. So that's judgment though. The play was coming to him. He has first right of refusal. Whoever the play is coming toward, he called it safe. Now, if the other 2 immediately, if one of them would have thrown their hands up and said, no, dead ball, that's okay. You're not always going to agree. Maybe your angle was a little bit better than the guy at third or whatever. That's not the issue. The issue is he called safe. They did nothing until the coach came out to complain about it. So you want to be careful with that, I think. You know, I might see it one way, you might see it another if we're partners in a game, like on that one. That, in my opinion, I didn't think it was anything. I thought the ball was past her before the fielder even got past the shortstop. But that's my opinion. Your opinion might be totally different on that, and that's fine. But somebody has to call it. So if I signal safe and you think it's interference, come up immediately. That's what that teaches us on that. Come up, call it, you got it. They might come out and question, hey, how come you called safe and he called out? Coach probably had a better angle than I did. From my angle, I saw no interference, but they did. They called it. That's what we're going with.
And do you want me to finish that 124 part?
If you can, if you want to, Jason.
Tend to agree
Yeah.
with you.
Right?
So
she's
here's a slow
here,
version.
not physically,
See,
but
she's
how
in
does
front
that
of her
be
before the
in
ball ever
directly in
gets
front of
there,
you?
in my
Now the
opinion,
conversation with the Syracuse coaches, which
from
leads you
what
to
I saw there. Thank you, Jason. That's what I saw. But evidently the other 2 got talked into it, or maybe they saw something and didn't want to call it to begin with. But don't hesitate on that, because, you know, you're out on that as always, coach, in my judgment, because it's a judgment call. Did she interfere? Didn't she interfere? So that's all I've got on that one. If they got any questions, Craig, throw them at me.
Well, I think when you look at that one, I would give them credit for getting together to talk about it. But other than that, I can't give them much credit. Because if there was interference and somebody thought it was interference, they should have killed it right off the bat.
Correct.
And then when you change it after the coach comes out, you better be ready to defend that one.
No, I agree. And as I tried to play through the game, there was no ejection on that. And you'd think at that level, there would have been an ejection. There might have been a few where I were coaching. So yeah, that's a good point on that one. Okay, we're going to move on now to obstruction rule reference. Okay, obstruction is the act of the defensive team member that hinders or impedes a batter's attempt to make contact with a pitched ball, or that impedes the progress of a runner or batter runner who is legally running the bases, unless the fielder is in possession of the ball or is making the initial play on a batted ball. The act may be intentional or unintentional, physical or verbal. So that's right out of the rule book, you know, in definitions, that's the definitions. As you notice in here, the word hinders or impedes is also included in obstruction, just like it is in interference. So that's good terminology to always use when you're talking to that coach. Obstruction is a violation by the defense. Now we're going to break this down and look at this rule little by little. Okay, obstruction is the act by the defensive team member that hinders or impedes a batter's attempt to make contact with a pitched ball. Some people call this catcher interference. Like when the catcher gets her glove hit, or she actually reaches out too soon and interferes with the batted ball. It is, however, obstruction and a violation by the defense. So those are a couple examples of that. Okay, here's play situation. You just got to walk this through with your head a little bit. R1, this is right out of the case book also. R1 is on second base with 1 out. F2 obstructs B3, so the batter, who hits a ground ball to F4. F4 throws B3 out, so we got an out. F3 then overthrows to third base in attempt to retire R1, who scores on the overthrow. The umpire should signal a delayed dead ball when the bat hits the catcher's glove. Okay. The coach of the team at bat now may elect to take the result of the play, which is scoring R1 because they advanced, or accept the catcher's obstruction penalty, placing R1 back at second base and B3 on first base. This is rule reference, the definition 236, and then play 8-1-1-D in the rule book. Umpires, you must present those options to the coach, and you need to practice the verbiage with your friends, on the field, to yourself, in front of a mirror. You have to know how to explain that so they can understand it. And then be ready to explain the rule using the terms in the rule book. Okay. Obstruction is the act by the defensive team member that hinders, impedes the progress of a runner, batter runner who is legally running the bases, unless the fielder is once again in possession of the ball or making the initial play. Act once again is intentional or unintentional. Obstruction is always a violation by the defense. Now we're going to have some more videos. Okay, this is right out from the NFHS video. Here's the play with R1 on first base and 1 out. B3 hits a fly ball that F7 catches. R1's going to tag up. Okay, there's the catch. Here comes the play at the plate. Notice where the catcher is. Catcher's right in front of the plate. The player's going down. Now, this is a judgment call. Some of you might think that this was a clean play. Oh, can you go back to? Okay, I see what we're doing. Yeah, so let me read through that. So this is just a judgment call. Some of you might think, hey, that's obstruction. Some of you might think the ball's coming, she's catching, going down, all in one motion. Once again, this is a judgment call. So the plate umpire, you need to judge R1's actions prior to F2 having possession. If the plate umpire judges that F1 was impeded prior to F2 having possession of the ball, then F2 is guilty of obstruction. However, if the plate umpire judges that R1 was not impeded prior to F2 having possession of the ball, then there's no obstruction. In this play, the plate umpire judged there was no obstruction. R1's called out. This one is one we have all the time, quite often, on the plays at the plate. You have to defend that. Yeah, we can go ahead and play it again. Watch where R1 is, watch where the catcher is. Catcher probably it's not a great angle, but she's obviously up in front of the plate. Now, one thing I would say, the plate umpire's not in real good position. He should be third base line extended. So he's up in the old default position. So there's the ball. And there she is way in front of the plate, but she catches it before there's contact. So by federation rule, you could call her out, but it's still a judgment thing. So an umpire has to judge if the runner was impeded. This is done by determining if the runner's actions are changed by the fielder's location, position, or actions prior to having possession of the ball. In other words, did the runner change their approach to running the bases as a reaction to the fielder? I don't think so in that video. I don't think she did change anything. Like I said, if you notice the umpire though, I would get him. He's got a much better angle where he's watching. He's only can watch one thing, to where if he gets third baseline extended, much better position, he can see everything right in front of him. The other is an item often discussed is the difficulty in determining if the runner slid because the fielder impeded them, which would be obstruction, or did they slide because they knew a play was about to happen and they chose to use the best path to reach the base. So once again, it's a judgment call. Well, you know, what you determine, as long as you can explain it, because one coach is not going to agree with you on that. They're going to argue, here it is again. See that umpire? I just think he's only seeing one thing at the plate. If he was back there, third baseline extended, I think it would be it'd be a different angle, and it'd be a different look, and he might have had a different decision then. So, but that's all what he decides on that one. Okay. All right, here we go. Now this, you're gonna see about 3 different angles. We got a girl on first, second baseman slides in from there. Looks like she's out. And yep, well, the coach tells her to put up. Here comes, it's like a coach might come out here at the end of this play, but here it is again. Slow motion. Oh, it's really hard to tell from that angle. It's hard to tell whether she caught the ball or she was obstructed first. But watch the umpire in the background. Now here's from his point of view.
Obstruction!
Here we go.
Obstruction time! Obstruction, stay there, safe.
So they're there, he calls it immediately. He's got a much better angle, and he's much closer than we were back behind the plate. Watch, there's contact, see where the ball is? There's contact clearly before the ball gets there. Now, is there any real penalty for the offense? This is one thing the Federation, they say no. You just have to give her the base. So the runner going back to first, she gets to stay at first base. See where that right there, you can see where the contact is made because she's blocking the base before she has possession of the ball.
Time out, Blue. Time out.
That's a good example. So, okay, here comes Coach. Yes, Coach.
Why wasn't that girl out? My girl had the ball, tagged her out. She didn't block the base.
Okay, Coach, as the runner was attempting to get back to the base, there was contact made with your fielder, which then impeded her from getting back to the base safely, even though she did catch the ball. In my judgment, there was contact clearly made before she had possession of the ball and had no attempt to get to the base.
In my judgment, there wasn't. Can you ask your partner for help?
Sir, I had a great look at that.
Let's look at this, Mr. Umpire. You kicked one on the interference call. You kicked one there. You've missed 2 at first base. You know, how much do you want me to take here?
Okay, right there. That was great by the coach. I'm turning around and walking away back to where I was between the second baseman.
And I'm following you all the way because I want an explanation.
That's fine. So when he follows me, I'm going to turn around, look at him, and I'm going to eject him. I'm not going to put Coach in the dugout. I'm not going to tell him that's a warning. I've made my explanation. He asked me legitimate questions the first time. I explained them to him using correct terminology. And then he wanted to start on and all those other close calls that I had evidently, according to him, missed during the game. No place for that. You should not put up for that. This guy's a great guy and a good coach, but he's having a bad day and he's taking it out on me.
No, but I thought you had a bad day. No, I'll go to the bus.
That's okay. All right. So we did this totally ad-libbed. All I did was tell Coach, I want you to come out and argue that. So none of this was played out or scripted. He did an outstanding job, and I think there's rumors he's going to become a softball coach here this summer. So you guys stay away from him. But the point is, he made me think off the top of my head, which is what happens in the game. And you might say, well, how can we ever practice that? You could practice it all the time. You tell your partner, hey, here's the play. Here's what I called. Come out and come after me. If you play that through in your head, I've done this long enough. I don't have any problem thinking up what to say to him, because in that situation, that was a very easy call to make. And when he came out, I explained it to him. Then he wanted to go in on the other calls I'd all missed, and that's fine. But turn and walk away. He asked me no questions the second time. After I let him speak, he let me speak. Then he started in on all the calls. We see this occasionally, and it's something that's disturbing to me. It's like, take care of the situation. Now, if you don't want to eject him, that's up to you, I guess. However, after what he said to me with all that, and I walk away because he didn't ask a question. He didn't want an explanation on anything. He just wanted to tell me how bad I was, that's his prerogative to do. But if you don't do nothing to him, then guess what? He's going to think, well, that guy didn't do nothing. I'll push it a little further next time, a little further next time. Just take care of it. And if you want to restrict him in the dugout, you could do that. I thought he went over the line. He crossed the line when he followed me. So I'm just going to eject him. Now, when I eject him, my partner, as soon as he sees me walking away and he sees that coach following, he better be on a brisk walk out toward us, because he knows what I'm going to do. And, any of your partner, you should be walking out anyway, whether you know what your partner's going to do or you don't know. Get ready, because there's going to be something happening. So just be ready for that. So thank you, Mr. Coach. We're ready to move on, Jason. Skip that one. Skip that one. Go to the last one. There we go. Okay, here's another easy one, guys.
The different sound.
In my opinion.
I mean, see different sound of the ball coming off the bat. Single up to the middle.
Classic.
Yet, now she has.
Plate umpire points to the base. That's obstruction.
Where's the run right
Once
there?
again, watch his angle. His angle is
You see Alexis Dog around.
not a good angle.
The
He's
catcher-
third base extended. She's coming. He's not third base extended. He's
Now- See, now in
clearly
baseball,
contact.
that's illegal.
He never does give the obstruction signal. Watch him.
Having the
Never
ball.
gives it.
Umpire was right there. I don't know why he didn't make a call.
So even the announcers know this one. Right there, contact, no ball, no ball. Oh, there's a ball. But look where his angle is. He's in that old default position. If he's over third base line extended, I hope you all know what I'm meaning when I say that. You should be lining up. You should be looking right down the third base line, from basically the left-handed batter's box on the right-hand side of the plate. Now, see, he points, oh, she touched the plate, but no obstruction call. That's an easy one. We should all be able to make that call and make sure you throw that left arm out. Got obstruction. Yeah, she end up scoring. So do you have to do anything with it? Not really. Not in Federation rules, but you've got it. Everyone sees you have it. So I think that's
The comment when she hit that ball.
is that it? Yeah. Okay. Does anybody got any questions? We can all call balls and strikes, safes and outs. This is where you get paid your money.
Yeah.
When you got the interference or obstruction, and you got to remember your terminology on that. So, impeded and hinders. Go ahead, Craig.
No questions, Pat. Good job.
Okay. Thank you for your help also.
Thank you, Pat and Craig. That's a very, very good, just two examples of each, two interference and two obstruction that we see all the time in our high school game. So this is where the rule books come in. And I think, Pat, that's the most words I've heard you speak in the last year. So, but good job. So next we have, let me find out what my agenda is here. Speaking with the coaches. During the game, the coaches and players are emotional. Umpires are the calming presence. Did we miss one, Jason?
This is
No.
Tom.
Is there another one? Go to the next one, please. There's a whole section missing.
No, controlling the game is next.
Yeah, I know, but there's only one slide.
Oh.
So. Let's do the lineup card rule reference. There we go. What's required on the lineup card?
Jim.
This is for coaches and for umpires, and Jim's going to take this one.
All right, lineup card rule reference. The team's lineup card shall include first initial and last name, jersey number, position, and batting order of each starting player, and shall include each eligible substitute. Rule 313. Umpires should look at the home team's lineup card first, check for each of the requirements above, then check the visitor's lineup last. Umpires should confirm whether the coach has listed all their substitutes. Umpires should look to see if teams are using the DP flex. It is not necessary in IGHSAU softball to have the coach's name on the lineup card. After the umpire checks for the required items on the lineup card, hand each card back to the coach and ask them to verify. This is the coach's last chance to correct their lineup card before the umpire declares the lineup official. After the lineup card is official, violations are subject to penalty. When the coach has verified their lineup, tell the coaches the lineups are now official. Then ask, do you have any changes to make at this time? This leads into another rule, which we will not cover here, but here is where the coach may substitute for the DP flex. Any changes now are considered a substitution, and all substitution rules apply. Any questions?
No questions on this one, Craig?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. 5 unusual occurrences in a game, and these may be usual, depends on your game. So our situation is we have the bases loaded, there's a wild pitch. The on-deck batter interferes with a catcher trying to make a play on the runner coming home. Our ruling is the runner closest to home is out. This is interference by a non-runner, and all other runners return to the last base at the time of the pitch. This may happen. The next situation, we have a tie ball game. Bottom of the 7th, there's a runner on third, there's one out. The media box has two people in it, 2 camera people. The batter hits the ball to the outfield. The right fielder catches it on a spectacular running catch for out number 2, and then her momentum carries her into the occupied media box. After the catch, R3 tags up properly and is thrown out at home. Is the game over? Let's see. This rule 843H, there's a penalty. When a live ball is unintentionally carried by a fielder from playable territory into dead ball territory, which the media box is dead ball territory when it's occupied, the ball is dead. Each runner is awarded one base from the last base touched at the time the fielder entered dead ball territory. This is commonly called a catch and carry. In this case, R3 is awarded home and the game is over. Another usual, unusual occurrence. The on-deck batter is swinging 3 bats, or the on-deck batter is swinging a bat with a parachute attached onto it. Oop, went a little too far on that one. Is this legal? Nope. Rule 752 says, let me go back, there you go. The on-deck batter may warm up with no more than 2 official softball bats, an approved warm-up bat, or a combination not to exceed 2 bats. So 3 bats is not legal, and swinging a bat with an attachment looks like a parachute on it is not legal. Our next usual, unusual occurrence. A batted ball hits the pitcher's plate. Due to its spin, the ball rolls untouched into foul territory between home and first base. Ruling, this is a foul ball. Our rule reference is a definition. A foul ball is a batted ball that settles or is touched on or over foul territory between home and first or between home and third. So here's one of our examples. If you always go back to your definition to figure out what's a fair ball or a foul ball, you can find your answer here. Bases loaded, deep fly ball to left field. The left fielder catches the ball, runs into the fence, and goes over the fence. The runner must tag up and can appeal the tag up. So for our 5 unusual occurrences, and they may be usual occurrences, do we have any questions? These things are pretty common in our game. Here we go. Controlling the game when emotions are high. This is going to be presented by Tom Sullivan. We call him Sully because we have 2 Toms. And I have to have my Bugs Bunny picture in there. So, Tom, it's all yours.
Okay. The best way to control the game when emotions are high is preventative umpiring. This is not something that you will see in any manuals. They are a collection of little tricks of the trade or things that experienced umpires have passed along to us to make our games go smoother with less headache and heartache for all participants. In the upcoming slides, I am sure there is something for everyone that you can make work for you. Preventative umpiring is that you are looking to umpire a fair game. Do not pick which rules that you are going to enforce. If you know that they're illegal, call it. A game that is played by the NFH rules that demonstrates the talents of the teams by creating a level of playing field that limits the manipulation of the rules. Keep the participants informed if you're asked, and clear on what has inspired and to limit confusion. Prevent things that are going to slow down the game and change the flow of momentum. Look the part, get in shape. Participants appreciate an umpire that is clean, pressed, and presents themselves in a professional manner. Hustle. Coaches and players can forgive an occasional mistake if an umpire is giving them the effort that the game deserves. Be in control of yourself. Don't lose your control in difficult situations. Maintain focus and treat the participants with respect. No one likes an umpire on a power trip or with something to prove. Learn from your mistakes and know your rules. When you blow a call, try to put it behind you and concentrate on the next play. Pre-game and post-game with your partners. Pre-games are necessary to talk about difficult plays and coverage and how the crew is going to handle them. Pre-game is also an opportunity to go over coverages and rules to prevent a coverage from getting blown or rules confused. Post-game should be honest and all about learning from our collective mistakes and getting better, not about placing blame. When a coach comes out and questions with a question, listen to them and hear what they have to say before you start to explain your call. Look approachable to calls, to coaches and players. Do not stand between half innings with arms crossed and talking with the fans. Look people in the eye while communicating. Keep calm in the middle of a visit from an angry coach. Sometimes where there's smoke, there's generally fire. Be aware of the emotions coming to a boil. That can come in many forms. If a coach is snipping at you from the bench or players engaging in a bit of back and forth, you need to take care of business early and politely. Find the administrator on duty upon arrival of the premises. Make sure that they are visible during the contest. Administrator will handle unruly fans. If a coach is having unacceptable behavior, stop the game, walk toward the head coach and say, "Coach, that is unacceptable behavior and will not be tolerated." Do not yell at the coach. Be calm, talk politely. No one needs to know what they're even talking about. At that time, you can issue the head coach a warning, restriction to the dugout, or to the bus. Matters on the severity of the behavior. Use your tools. If it is not the coach with unacceptable behavior, say the same thing to the head coach with the addition of, "I expect you will take care of this and see that it does not happen again." If in the umpire's judgment, the remarks of minor nature, then the umpire should issue a team warning to the head coach. However, if the umpire judges the act to be a major offense, then the player or players shall be ejected immediately. Occasionally, players will be heckled by fans. If a fan is getting out of control and is crossing the line of what is decent, stop the game and have the game administrator take care of it. Do not start the game until it is taken care of. Do not engage coaches and players in unnecessary conversations. Be professional. Some umpires are disabled to pull this preventive umpiring off easily. We call it the it factor. Some umpires just have a natural sense for doing what is right in a given situation. However, I am sure that most of them were exposed to some of these techniques also. It is up to you to decide when, where, how, and if you will implement them. Study the rule book. Wish you all have a great season and have fun. Any questions?
No, I don't have any for you, but let's just go back to interference. I had a question on interference. Somebody asked if you can have interference with no contact. Well, I don't think we've ever said that you have to have contact to have interference. So the answer to your question is that you could have interference with no contact. If I'm running from second to third and the ground ball's hit to the shortstop and I yell at her as I'm going by, you can have interference and call that runner out. I've seen interference called when the girl's going from second to third and runs in front of the shortstop, and umpires call that interference. I guess that's your judgment. They have a right to go from second to third also. So in most cases, if you have interference, will there be contact? Yes, but you have to have contact? No. That's all I've got.
That's a good point, Craig, because you don't really want to make the players run into each other to make your call easier. You know, use your judgment, use the hinders or impedes, and then make your judgment on those things. Okay. What do observers want to see? I'm not sure I put this in the right position either. Okay, what observers look for. When we observe, we look to see if they're wearing the correct uniform. We look at your mask, your shin guard, your chest protector. We prefer that you have 2 ball bags on the plate. And we require no ball bags on the bases. The IGHSAU logo is on the shirt, or you can have a plain shirt. And we want you to wear the uniform properly with the shirt tucked in, the cap facing forward. We look to see whether the umpire is recording substitutions, including the courtesy runners. We want to make sure that you stay out of the dugouts. The coaches may say something you do not need to hear, and umpires don't belong in the dugouts anyway. That's for the players. When it's time for lineup card changes, these should be short and efficient. Observers look for umpire to umpire signals, whether this would be for an infield fly or 2 outs with runners in scoring position or a drop third strike. We want you to use NFHS mechanics, umpire mechanics and positioning. The plate watches the hands for the shoot and illegal pitches, and the base umpire watches the feet for illegal pitches. We look to see what your interactions are with coaches, players, and fans. Observers look for base rewards on a ball thrown out of play. Is the award from the time of the throw, or is the award from the time of the pitch? We look to see that you're using that proper delayed dead ball signal. We look to see if you're calling obstruction correctly, whether you signal it. Obstruction happens a lot in our high school game. It probably should be called a little bit more. Some players are still taught to block bases, and we can't do that unless we have the ball. We look for coverage of all the different plays by the umpires that are on the field. Typically, the plate in a 2 umpire system, the plate umpire has third and home. The base umpire has first and second, and sometimes third. We look to see if the plate umpire brackets are run down on the bases. We look to see if there's a runner on third with a walk, but the plate umpire has the runner on third, and the base has the batter runner for the look back rule. You need to read that look back rule to see when it exactly starts. On base hits, are the umpires watching the runners touch the bases? We need to watch our priority runners, those runners that are closest to the home. They're the ones that we really need to watch. Granted, I know there's lots of runners out there sometimes, but we have to watch the priority runners. We look for example, here's another situation. There's a runner on second, the fly ball is caught. Who has the tag up on the runner? If the base umpire says, I've got the tag at second, then I know. If the plate umpire says, I've got the tag on third, then I know. And then after that tag up, if the runner's on second, who has the play at third? All these should be discussed. All these situations should be discussed in your pregame meeting. Observers look for umpires controlling the game flow, giving the ball and strike count to the pitcher while she's looking. Try to fill your ball bags with the foul balls that go out during the inning. Try to fill them between the innings. We look to see how you handle the coaches, and we hope that you ignore the fans. I know they might be your neighbors, but not today. You're the umpire and they're a fan. Any questions on this one?
No.
Oh, okay. So for the conferences, offensive, defensive, and keeping track. This one's silly.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about conferences. Let's start with defense. Each team when on defense may be granted not more than 3 charged conferences during a 7-inning game without penalty. In any extra inning game, each team will be permitted 1 charged conference without penalty each inning while on defense. The number of charged conferences permitted is not cumulative. That means in the first 7 innings, if the coach has 2 more defensive timeouts, they're gone. A request for time for a conference may be made by a coach, substitute, or bench personnel. Time granted for an obviously injured player shall not constitute a charged conference. A conference is not charged when the pitcher is removed as pitcher. This defensive team charge conference rule coverage is in effect when the ball first becomes live at the start of each half inning. After 3 charge conferences in a 7-inning game, or for any charge conference in excess of 1 in each extra inning, the pitcher shall be removed as pitcher for the duration of the game. Each team when on offense may be granted not more than 1 charge conference per inning to permit coach or any of that team's personnel to confer with base runners, the batter, the on-deck batter, or other offensive team personnel. The umpire shall deny any subsequent offensive team requests for charge conferences. This offensive team charge conference rule coverage is effective when the ball first becomes live at the start of each half inning. Time granted for any obviously injured player shall not constitute a charge conference. When either team has a charged conference, the other team may also have a conference which is not charged, provided the non-charged conference concludes when the opposing team's charged conference concludes, thus not delaying the game. If the incoming pitcher has already pitched in the game, the pitcher will receive 5 warm-up pitches, unless returning in the same half inning. When a pitcher is removed by a rule, the incoming pitcher has not pitched in the game. The umpire is authorized to permit additional warm-up pitches. Umpires must write down conferences for each team. Use the back of the lineup card or bring extra paper to use during the game. Don't wait until the half inning. You will likely forget. One thing I need to add with this, when you have a conference, a defense or offense, okay, or say there's an injured player and the coach comes out, that other team, if the coach comes out and conferences with the offense or defense, that is a charged timeout. So be sure to tell the coach on the way out if he wants a conference to talk to his players, that needs to be charged. Is there any questions?
No, good job.
Okay. The Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union has an adaptation that we will use the double first base. Tom Berger is going to talk a little bit about the rules covering a double first base.
Okay, double first base. The defense must use the white portion and the batter runner the colored portion when a play is being made on the batter runner. That's rule 810. Penalties for this, the batter runner is out when there is a play being made at first base and the batter runner only touches the white, provided the defense appeals prior to the batter runner returning to touch the white or the colored base. The other thing I think we need to make sure is that depending on where the base umpire is, either in the B or the C slot, or even in some situations in the A when they get off the line. The plate umpire needs to keep an eye on this too, to see what foot's actually touching the base. So make sure we have eyes on that. And the plate should be looking down the line for interference anyway. Penalty, the batter runner is out for interference when there is a forced play and the batter runner only touches the white and collides with the fielder about to catch a thrown ball while on the white. You can call obstruction on this, and that would be called the defense when there is a forced play on the batter runner who touches only the colored portion and collides with the fielder about to catch the thrown ball while also on the colored portion. The offense or defense may use either the white or colored portion on these situations. On any force out attempt from the foul side of first base, for an example, a drop third strike. Also on an errant throw that pulls the defense off the base into foul ground. If the defense uses the colored portion, the batter runner may run in fair territory when the throw is coming from the foul side of first base. So keyword there, foul side of first. Same thing, the offense or defense can use either white or colored base on a fair batted ball hit to the outfield with no play being attempted, or when the runner is returning to first. They can also use either base when they are tagging up on a fly ball, on an attempted pickoff play, or on a base on balls. Any questions?
Yeah. So what would be an appropriate appeal regarding the batter runner using the white base? Well, it can be the coach, it could be the player. Obviously, just saying she touched the white and not the orange. And you could have an out, just like you appeal anything else.
Your appeal could be, going a little bit further on that, Craig, the appeal can be verbal, or the first baseman having the glove in her ball, she can go tag the runner.
Right.
You could do either way to appeal.
And they have to appeal before she gets back.
I think we can all agree that we don't see this very often, but I do know from discussions that it has been called. So just, have that in your mindset that just in case it's appealed, we know how to handle this, and we know which base they actually touched.
No more questions, Craig?
That's it.
Okay. So how we select postseason umpires. Our postseason requirements are pretty easy. They must register with the IGHSAU through Dragonfly. It's called the Center for Official Services. You need to view the rules meeting, and you need to pass the test. I believe there were 50 questions on the test out of a rule bank of 75 or 77 questions. You need to pass it with a 75%. The test is written by the National Federation. We modify it for IGHSAU to include adaptations and an extra question or two about points of emphasis. But the test is actually written by the Federation. For postseason requirements, this includes regionals and state. We check the recommendations from all the coaches. So to get these recommendations, you need to sign the rule book, or the score, not the rule book, but the scorebook. You need to sign it legibly, or at least tell them your name. Some of them have the iPads that they keep score on, and you just go over and tell them your name and help them spell it and put it in there. So the coaches can't rate you if they don't know who you are. Another postseason requirement is that you attend an IGHSAU sponsored clinic once every 3 years. Today's clinic will count for that. We have a live in-person clinic coming up this year in Atlantic. We're going to try a different format this year. So that one will count for postseason. You need to have a satisfactory evaluation by an observer or an advisor in the last 3 years. And this is a requirement for all the sports for Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union. Maybe a different number of games, and it varies per sports because we have, I believe, 40 games that we can play. You need to be scheduled for at least 12 varsity games during the year of the tournament that you're gonna work. So if you got 12 games and one gets rained out, the 12 is still a requirement. It's still met. For postseason, we choose umpires from all parts of the state. They are not all from the Des Moines Metro or the Cedar Rapids Metro or anything else. We choose them from all parts of the state. We try to bring in a few new umpires every year. For the last 6 or 7 years, since this advisory committee has been working on it, we have brought in new umpires every year. We've gotten probably 30 new umpires in the last 6 or 7 years. So this shows everybody in the state that everyone has a chance to be at the state tournament if the requirements are met. First-year umpires would be eligible for postseason if all the requirements, including the clinic, are met. Sometimes we have an umpire that moves here from a different state and they're an experienced umpire. They just haven't worked in this particular state. They would be eligible if they meet the requirements. Oh, here it says, in the past 6 years, we've brought over 30 new umpires to the state tournament. We're preparing for the future. So any other questions submitted during the presentation can be answered at this time. If you have questions, now's the time.
Yeah, just somebody asked, so if you give them a card that has the umpires' names on it, do I still need to sign the book? Well, that's up to you, but I'd do both. You give them a card or sign the book. You don't know what that coach is doing with the card, throwing it in the garbage. If you sign the book, he always has the book to look to see who worked the game. So I don't think doing both hurts you at all. And somebody asked, as far as the double headers count as 2 varsity games or 1, that would be, they would count as 2. Same way as your tournaments on Saturday, you may work 3 there. So.
Good questions.
Good questions. I got another one too. No, I don't either. That's the last one.
Okay, I want to thank Jason for being the moderator. He's the softball administrator for IGHSAU. And I want to thank my evaluators who contributed greatly to this presentation. Tom Berger, who represents Northeast Iowa, Craig Snyder, Northwest Iowa, Tom Sullivan, North Iowa, Pat Pasha, Southeast Iowa, Jim Doyle, Southwest Iowa. You may contact me or any of the advisors. I put my email and my phone number down here. If you want to talk to the advisors, give me a call and then I'll give you the number. I'm not going to put it out here on this particular presentation.
Well, thanks everybody. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming, for watching today. I think we had at one point around 80 people. So again, thanks for taking time out of a very nice night to join us. Again, want to thank Kathy and her advisors for all their guidance and help during the year. So what now? I guess we want to make sure that you receive credit for this. And also a reminder, this clinic we're taping it or recording it right now. Once I'm able to download it out of the Zoom cloud, we'll get it posted online in the official section of the IGHSAU website. With that, you'll be able to watch. So if you have some colleagues that weren't able to watch today, please refer them to the link on the official's website so they can watch it and they can also get credit. So I thought maybe the best way to do this would be I'm going to go over to the next slide here. I've got a QR code. So if you've got your phones with you, scan that, and it should take you directly to a Google Doc, which you'll be able to fill out and fill the information out. There's a couple required fields: name, address, email. Shouldn't take you more than just a couple minutes to do that, to fill out that form, so you'll get credit for that. If you're having problems scanning, you can email me. I have a copy of this. I can certainly email it to you if you email me, and that way you can use it that way, or we can, if you want to give me a call, my number at my work line is 515-401-1836. Be more than happy to help you with that if you're having issues. Kathy, if you want to talk a little bit more about the May 13th clinic, the in-person, while everyone's scanning, and maybe just give them, if you have some more information about that. And we've got, again, information was sent out through Dragonfly to every eligible umpire. Hopefully you can take advantage of that in Atlantic. But Kathy, if you want to give some more details on that while people scan.
Yes, the Atlantic coach has been very cooperative and is really excited about helping us, get better as umpires. And they want to learn what we do too. It makes their teams better. They have a nice complex in Atlantic that has 6 ball diamonds on it. He put out the email to the teams, quite a while ago, a couple months ago, right, Jim?
Yes.
At least. They've had an overwhelming desire to come here, and they have agreed to not only do their scrimmages, but during their scrimmages, we're going to set up some situations, like put runners on base and have them leave early and have umpires call it and show them the mechanics, and it'll show the umpires the mechanics and show the teams what we are looking for. We're going to go over a little bit about illegal pitches. If you have suggestions of what you want to see, what you want to learn in this particular clinic, I've got a list of things that we're going to do. I don't have them right offhand here, but it's the first live clinic that we've had for on this scale for a couple of years now, since COVID, and it seems to be going over pretty well. We are going to probably limit it because we only have 6 diamonds and 2 sessions on each diamond. So we can cut one of the games in half and have you work only a half a game if necessary. But one of the things that we want to have you do when you come to this clinic, you need to come to this clinic with your uniform and with your equipment. Because if you're going to come to this clinic and you're going to receive credit, you're going to have to work at least a portion of the game. Of the scrimmage. In this particular case, it's called a scrimmage. So if you want to come and observe, then you're not going to receive credit for this. So anything else, Jim, that I forgot about that?
No, I think you've covered it all.
Okay. Craig, anything else?
No, I would just say that the big thing about that clinic is that you're gonna work, you're gonna umpire, you're gonna work.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
Bring your-
decided that a long time ago. That, it doesn't do people any good to come to a clinic and listen to us talk for 2 hours. You got to get on the field and you got to get it done.
And the other would be, there's probably going to be at least 10 evaluators there, and it gives people an opportunity to see you in action. And I can tell you, last year at the Cedar Rapids Clinic, it was very good for all the observers to see people in action that we had never seen before, and some of those people went to the state tournament. So if that's your goal, I would definitely recommend that you attend that clinic.
Yep.
And even for new umpires, don't be intimidated by these clinics. These are a great way to learn. Be around other umpires, you discuss a lot of situations. They're a lot of fun to be at.
We're going to have 3 umpire mechanics, and we're going to have 2 umpire mechanics. So if you're a newer umpire, we'll put you on the 2 umpire fields, and you can learn the basics there. Because if you can't learn the basics, or if you learn the basics of 2 umpires, then you're going to be proficient at it. And if you are proficient at 2-man, then you can go to work with 3 umpire mechanics. You can't be proficient at 3 unless you're proficient at 2. Because if an umpire chases a fly ball, then you're down to 2 umpires anyway. So you still got to convert back to what happens when you got 2 umpires. So we've got a lot of nice things planned for this one and a lot of interest from the teams. So we're pretty excited about this particular clinic. So hope y'all can be there.
All right. Well, thank you, Kathy. Again, thanks to the advisors as well. And thanks to all of our attendees today. And like I said, if you're having issues, you've got my email address. I've got a copy of the QR code. I can email that to you so you can take a look at it and scan it from there. Or like I said, feel free to give me a call on my office line, and I'll try to help you there as well if you need in-person help. So thanks a lot for attending, and good luck
Hey,
and best of wishes to you this season. Yes.
Before we sign off, I just had someone ask, for postseason availability or non-availability. Kathy, are you looking at Dragonfly for the dates that are open or blocked, or is there going to be a Google Doc sent out again that they can tell you what dates they're available, what schools they can't work or shouldn't work, and maybe who their partner is? How are we going to communicate that to umpires?
I think the Google Doc worked very well for us last year. I think that's what we're going to do.
Okay, and then do we have a timeline of when they might see that?
I think we'll decide Sunday night.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have an advisory meeting Sunday night and we'll decide that Sunday.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Then thanks, everybody. And good luck this season. We'll go ahead and end the meeting.